And now we want to take you to South Carolina, where a House Republican has drawn the ire of both Democrats and members of her own party in her first term in Congress. Representative Nancy Mace has overcome many challenges to get where she is now. ABC News Live Prime anchor Linsey meets Mace as she navigates a delicate balancing act in the race to November.
It's so much harder than it looks.
Challenges are no deterrent for Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace.
Life's not fair. It's not easy. And you're going to get stuff thrown your way that you're not going to expect.
The daughter of an Army brigadier general, she learned resilience early on.
Quitting was not an option. My dad said to me when he dropped me off at school, he said, don't call home if you want to quit, just put on your shoes and start walking.
School, in this case, was the Citadel. In 1999, Mace became the first woman to graduate from South Carolina's famed military college in its 156-year history.
It does require a bit of toughness to graduate from the Citadel.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you have to be tough, but also it teaches you about what's important and overcoming the odds. When I was at the Citadel, people were threatening to kill me and my family.
Paddleboarding through South Carolina's low country.
I don't run anymore after having COVID, but this is easy enough.
Mace tells us the challenges she's faced, including an early trauma as a teen, have shaped who she is as a leader.
I was raped when I was 16, and I dropped out of school shortly thereafter, right after my 17th birthday. I took a job as a waitress at a Waffle House, and I was very angry. And so for me, the Citadel was a place where I could go and just be like, F you, the entire world, and prove to myself that I could face that kind of challenge and I would make it and I wouldn't quit. It's kind of like being a freshman member of Congress right now, where you get a lot of threats and you got to do the right thing no matter what.
Just 100 hours into her first term in Congress, rioters stormed the Capitol on January 6th. Late that night, she was the only Republican from South Carolina who voted to certify the election for President Biden.
There should be accountability for those actions from the president on down.
While Mace was not one of the 10 Republicans in the House who voted to impeach Donald Trump, she still felt the wrath of the former president.
You have another horrendous rhino known as Crazy Nancy Mace.
But in the primary, Mace had no trouble fending off Trump's endorsed candidate Katie Arrington. And the latest polls now show Mace with a double-digit lead over her opponent, Democrat Annie Andrews.
I was the only one to survive the kind of primary that I had this year. I've had a lot of threats on my life just for taking certain votes. I carry a gun everywhere I go. And I represent a swing district, so one day I got one side mad at me, the next day I got the other side mad at me.
What do you think your greatest strength is?
Working hard. I don't really take no for an answer.
Willing to paddle upstream every once in a while, right?
Yeah.
How about your biggest weakness?
Sometimes my expectations are too high. I don't have very much patience.
What are the priorities for the people here in South Carolina?
The cost of everything is up between gas and groceries, but rent is way up, and it's just hard to make ends meet. But inflation's a #1 issue. Abortion's an issue down here. And I think folks want someone who's willing to find and build consensus somewhere in the middle.
What do you think about Lindsey Graham's abortion ban federally?
The devil's always in the details is what I told Senator Graham. And I didn't like 2 provisions in his bill. One, that women who've been raped have to report it to the police. That's a non-starter. I can't imagine if I had to be forced to report my rape when I was 16, I probably would have ended it all.
With less than 3 weeks to go until midterms, Mace is keenly aware that abortion is a key issue for her constituents. She says second only to the economy.
You've talked quite openly about being raped when you were 16 years old. How does that inform your policy on abortion?
If you've been raped or you're a victim of incest or your life's in danger or there's a fetal abnormality, the government shouldn't be stepping in there. You should have those exceptions protected. If you're going to ban abortion, the very minimum, rock bottom minimum that you should be doing is protecting every woman's right to access to contraceptives. I think that Republicans' message early on was wrong. We buried our heads in the sand, and that wasn't the right move. I didn't. I decided to lean into the issue.
You talk about how you carry a gun on a daily basis. Is there something that can be done, a meeting of the minds with regard to gun control.
Absolutely. And I, as a mom, you know, after the day after I dropped my kids at school, the day after Uvalde, I was in tears because there were families in Texas that weren't able to be in the carpool line the next day. And that is gut-wrenching. There should just be one database that everybody can access where everybody's information is put into it so you know in real time that that person is a bad person and they shouldn't be able to buy a gun.
So do you then support red flag laws?
I don't. That is a slippery slope that you run into. I think it could be used against people who are law-abiding citizens.
Mace says she attempts to strike a moderate tone across a gamut of issues, including a topic many in her party often avoid, climate change.
It's an issue that I've worked on. I'm one of the founding members of the Conservative Climate Caucus. We're right here on the ocean, sitting on the ocean where there is sea level rise. We saw with Hurricane Ian that sea level rise is a problem.
Now, you do not support offshore drilling, but at the same time, you've said that you want to see this country be energy independent. And so how do you get both?
There's a balance, right? I think, you know, we all want to be greener. I think we can look at using excess resources that we have here for the next 20, 30, 50 years until the green technology catches up. You can't just do it overnight. You have to be able to transition.
Her moderate message and willingness to compromise potentially put her at odds with many Republican candidates on the ballot this fall.
I passed over 20 bills out of committee working with Democrats.
So you think it is possible for a Republican to have success without championing the former president?
I just proved it. I mean, I just won my primary overwhelmingly.
Some of your Republican colleagues have suggested that if Republicans do take back control, that they would like to see Joe Biden be impeached. Is that a priority that you would support?
It's not actually, and in fact, we've seen impeachment weaponized over the last couple of years. If there's reason to impeach a president, then, you know, go for it, but that should not be a priority for the United States Congress in the next legislative session.
Hello to South Carolina.
Would you like to see Donald Trump run for president in 2024?
I would like to see a deep bench on both sides of the aisle. And to me, as a woman in Congress, I'm the first woman, Republican woman, elected to Congress from the state of South Carolina. It took us 100 years after women's suffrage to do that. I want to see a woman on the ticket.
Would you vote for Donald Trump again?
I'll support the nominee in 24.
But for Mace, in her own race to November and beyond,
Look at that wind taking her.
You're about to crash into the...
she knows firsthand staying afloat is all about finding just the right balance.
We made it this far!
Oh, that was really enlightening and athletic. Our thanks to you, Linsey Davis, as always.